my friends, Randy here, your host for Building Wins Live, and our first switch to the Friday at 3 p.m. Time frame. So thanks for following us over. Please share us out, like us, promote us, whatever you can. We've got a really awesome guest today, a guy that's become a really good friend in a short period of time. Clancy Clark. He's a sales extraordinaire. He's an author. He's a speaker, and he really speaks to the way I see sales, which made me really interested in having him on today. So we're gonna have a great chat. So don't go away. We'll be right back with Clancy. There he is.
Hey.
Look, we got George Henderson on here. Are two of my favorite people. I paid George to say that, by the way.
Give him the goods, Clancy. You count on it, George. I'm here. Yeah, I'll hold him accountable for sure.
You got it. Well, welcome, my friend. Thank you for being on today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
You know it. I've read your. We'll talk about this in a while, but I've read your book. There we go. Get on the camera. Great book for anybody that's watching now or in replay. And it's been a pleasure to get to know you and to chat a few times on the phone. And you speak from a place that I've believed for a long time. That whole selling by serving. I love that. It's a beautiful title. And so I really, like I said, you're a sales extraordinaire. You're an author, a speaker. I might have missed a couple other things, but before we get going, who's Clancy Clark? Where are you from? What do you do? I mean, I know all this stuff, but give us the 4 to 3 hour version of who Clancy Clark is.
Yeah. That's thank you for leading with that. So I'm from a lot of different places. I'm definitely one of those guys. Randy, home is where my heart is. And right now that's in Southern Colorado. But I've lived all around the United States, and my career in sales has been comprised of 3 very separate career chapters, each about a decade long, each one in a very different geography in the United States. One of them was in Western Montana. One of them was in Florida. And then the one that I'm still currently in involves New Mexico and Texas. And all of them, the common denominator, all of them has been in the realm of agribusiness. I was a sheep herder back in my early and mid 20s and a professional sheepdog trainer, and kind of decided that wasn't my long-term viable career path. Although some of the greatest memories of my life are being out on those beautiful pastures in Montana with the snow peaks and the green pastures and my working dogs and 2,000 or 3,000 sheep, and just amazing lifestyle that was for me. But I figured professionally that I kind of wanted more. And so I traveled into Billings, Montana, and took one of those career aptitude tests that they give you. And it was really ironic because right next to this little career aptitude center, there was a mom and pop used car lot. And there was a couple of those guys in this car lot with the 3-piece polyester double knit suits and the big wide loud ties. And the guy came back in after I did my aptitude test, and he said, you have a high aptitude in sales. And I was so dejected to hear that. I was looking out the window at those guys, and I thought, I don't want to be one of those guys. And
did they have the worst weight shoes?
I'm gonna have to sell my flannel shirts and buy double knit polyester suits. And I'm going to have to learn to talk with a heavy, Bronx accent. And trust me, you's going to love it. You's going to love it. Trust me. And I left. And then ironically, Randy, a short time later, I found myself in an outside sales role. And I decided right then and there that sales was an honorable profession because I would make it so. And my guiding principles from that time till this day are that I go out, and when I call on a prospect or a customer, I'm there to learn, I'm there to help, and I'm there to be an asset in some way. And the first sales manager that hired me, it was new business. All my iterations in my sales career have started with a base of 0 sales. All of them have been selling into down markets for what I was selling. And I think those have been my great advantages. And we can talk about that later if you want to. But he showed me all the potential in my area for the market and what he thought was attainable. And it was all Greek to me. And I just decided, I'm going to go out and do those three things. I'm going to go learn, I'm going to help, and I'm going to be an asset. And whatever results those produce are what they'll produce. And if they're not good enough, I'll go find something else to do. I can always go back to being a sheep herder or whatever. And that approach, combined with a hardworking work ethic, have allowed me to rise to the top of these three different organizations that I've been associated with, and actually set some new sales records and even categories within those organizations. But it's come out of that approach to place service to other people first, above quotas and commissions. I've never much really paid that attention. I know the numbers are there, and I just always figured if I do what I do, it's far exceeded any numbers that anyone's ever set for me. And so, yeah, that's kind of been my approach that's brought me to now. And then about 2 years ago, I decided to launch this platform, this Beyond the Method selling platform. And with the release of the book, Selling by Serving, because I wanted to help sales professionals. Yes, not to sell more stuff, because I think there's frankly too much of that. Master my 7 techniques, right, and you're going to sell anything to anyone. And it's not about that to me. It's about how I think about what I do, not about what I do. And what I've seen too often is salespeople not fulfilled in what they're doing. They're making a living, but they're not connected to it. They're not passionate about it. I've seen a lot of young and new people in sales burn out and get overwhelmed trying to, quote, learn how to sell, unquote, as if there's any big learning curve to helping people. It's the most natural thing in the world. Anyone can help. Anyone can help. And so that's what my mission is with Selling by Serving and Beyond the Method selling, is to help sales professionals to be more fulfilled in their careers, knowing that they'll have far better results if they are fulfilled than if they're just going through the motions or trying to follow some template method. And I think the subtitle of the book says it all. Find fulfillment in your career and sell more than you ever thought possible. It doesn't say sell more than you ever thought possible and then be fulfilled. It has to come in that order. And so fulfillment is a very treasured word to me. And that's what I'm trying to help people to do, to find true fulfillment. And I know that out of that will flow greater results than if they're chasing those results in and of themselves.
It makes great sense. I made a couple notes while I'm not doing crossword puzzles when you're talking. They bore me, so I'm making
you sure can. Yeah.
But I made a note that goes along, because a word that I like to use a lot, that I talk about quite a bit, is engagement, right? Being engaged in your life and in your sales career can't be the separate thing, right? It's all part of. I mean, you have to separate occasionally, right? You can't go out to dinner with your wife and be constantly on the phone. You got to give time where it needs to be. But I think a lot of people feel like there's work and then there's my life. And I think if you're a sales pro, and I think that's the key, is if you're a sales pro, they intertwine, right? Because you're engaged. One is engaged with the other. And I made a note as you was talking. It made some sense. Engagement equals passion equals success. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, we use this word, you were talking about engagement, and the one that I'm so fond of is fulfillment. And we hear it thrown around a lot, and it's like, yeah, that means happiness, or that means this or that. But I've memorized the definition. That's my very favorite definition of fulfillment, which is satisfaction or happiness as the result of fully developing one's character and abilities. Now, to me, there's nothing more important in life than that, much less our career. But if you think about it and really dissect it, Randy, fully developing one's character and abilities, not just partially developing them. And it's not just satisfaction or happiness that comes from anywhere. It comes from fully developing my character and my abilities. And my character is what's always going to shine through in sales. You can't fake sincerity. You can't manufacture it. They know if it's there. They know if it's not there. And then my abilities, figuring out a way to be of a service to you and to be an asset to your business. And then And then that engages me in the work that I'm doing. By virtue of that, then obviously back to your word that you were talking about, then I become fully engaged in what I'm doing. And out of that flows far greater results than somebody who's just trying to hit numbers, right?
Exactly.
It's night and day.
Yeah. That's a great point because, I had a conversation with a young guy a year or 2 or 3 ago now, and he was asked, he's trying to get involved in sales. And he says, when did you go from being a pretty good salesman to a very good salesman, which I guess I think I am. I said, you know what it was? When I stopped selling. And I fell into that same thing early. And what I mean, what I meant by that, and I explained to him, is that what you just talked about is if you engage and you have a passion for what you do, and ask the questions, and you're looking to take care of your customer, you don't have to sell anybody anything, right? And that was the real key to me. And I think that's a lot of what you're saying, Clancy. Look at George. What's George? He might have something very important here to say. I've been a student of sales.
I know. I love the comment. Thank you so much, George. I've really appreciated getting to know George, and he has such kind things to say about my message and my mission, and it really feels good to know that this resonates with people.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you're right. It's all about being engaged and being fully involved in what you're doing, and the other thing, there's a very pragmatic thing to me, Randy, about being fully engaged and being fulfilled. And I use an example from my own life, but I think anybody who's been in sales can relate. And the fulfilled sales individual is going to go the extra mile. The one who's not fulfilled is going to do the minimum. And I take the example, this is from when so all of my professional iterations, like I said, I was a sheep herder, then I was a sheep rancher. And so it was natural for me to get in sales in the world of agribusiness. And so now I am, expanding that with selling by serving. The message is for anybody who's in sales, and that's right. Wonderful. And my new book, Love Your Work, Live Your Dream, is even beyond that. It's more like just finding satisfaction in whatever career. It doesn't have to be sales. It could be driving a forklift or being a VP at a bank. But anyway, as I was developing my business down in New Mexico, calling on dairy producers, large commercial dairies, and it's a very big buying decision. There's a lot of loyalty to the nutritionists that they currently have, and I'm a nutritional consultant. I help them develop their feed programs, and it's a huge decision for them to make this switch. They're entrusting me with 60% of their budget, and it's very big business, these large commercial dairies milking thousands and thousands of cows. And so these guys are hard to find a lot of times. And I remember going down there, and there was one dairy I really wanted to meet with the guy. And every time I would go, there was the office with the glass door in the front, nobody there, locked, dark inside. So I'd take my business card on, and I don't know how many times I'd been there, a lot of times. And it was a Friday afternoon, literally at 3:30. And I had already been there like once that day. And I said, I'm going back. I'm going to try this one more time. Now, what I felt like doing was going back to the motel and hanging out by the pool or curling up in the fetal position in the bed and just giving up.
Right.
But I didn't. And because, I've just known that you have to do whatever it takes. And that's where I think a lot of people fall short in getting fulfillment is, are you willing to do whatever it takes? So I went back, and sure enough, there was the big white 4-door diesel pickup, engine running, and the keys were in the office door. And there was the guy in there, doing some payroll or last minute paperwork. And I walked in and I said, boy, have I been looking for you. And he held up a stack of business cards this thick and said, oh, you're this guy. Okay, I guess you've earned a little of my time. What's up? And that started a relationship. Now, the person who's not fulfilled isn't going to go back Friday afternoon at 3:30. And I use that one example, but I think it's really true, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think anybody that's a fulfilled, engaged type salesperson will do those things, right? And you'll find that, as you said, they will find the success because they're not looking for just the dollars and just the numbers. They're looking to build that relationship. And you're 100% right. What you're talking about, and obviously we talked about this, and I agree with you full-heartedly. If you come at it from that side, you'll get all the rest of the stuff, right? And it just comes naturally without forcing it. If you engage with that guy, he obviously knew you earned that right, and he knew you was a stick-to-itiveness, and he knew that if you're going to come back this many times, you're probably going to take care of him, right?
Right. Yeah. And it's that willingness. And, I write in my new book about what I call the success equation. And I'm a big believer in visualization, the power of visualization. I write a lot about it in Love Your Work, Live Your Dream, how it works, why it works, and use examples like Lindsey Vonn and pro athletes and surgeons and these people that pay vast sums of money being coached in visualization. And why is that? Because it works. Because the brain stores away an image the exact same way as it stores an experience. And then you begin to act upon that image, and you so increase your chances of having things go the way you want them to go, including the sales cycle. If you see the person signing the purchase order, if you see them nodding and smiling while you're presenting, if you see them fully engaged and leaning forward and smiling at you, then you're just going to go in and be the actor in that scene that you've seen over and over and over again. And it really works. It doesn't work all the time, but that's no reason to reject it as it doesn't work. And but in anything it is in life, if a person has a clear vision of what it is that they want and they're willing to do whatever it takes, the truth is it will succeed at some level. Now, maybe not the level that we had expected or hoped for, but it will succeed. And I think that that's where a lot of people fall short, is the willingness to do whatever it takes. And I'm not saying, Randy, that you have to do anything specifically, because we don't know that going in. We don't know what's going to be required. But if I know that I will do whatever it takes to reach people with this message of selling by serving beyond the message, I'm willing to do that. Am I willing to spend 8 or 10 hours a day on LinkedIn connecting with people and engaging during the COVID pandemic? Yes, I did that. And, and whatever it takes. And I think that that's, people have to do their own soul searching on that. But I think the highest achievers are willing to do whatever it takes. Back to the example of Lindsey Vonn, it's really cool to see her up there on the podium with the gold medal, but we're not there with her in the hospital room when she comes out of the surgery and has her blown knee repaired. Right. And we're not there for the hours and hours of painful, thankless, glamourless rehab that she goes through, and then is willing to get right back out there and put it right on the edge where she was when that major crash occurred. And if you want to win a gold medal in downhill skiing, you got to be willing to do that. They all pay their dues. Right. And the same is in sales. If you want to be a top sales professional, you have to show the marketplace and yourself you're willing to do whatever it takes to be of service, to be a valuable asset. Then you're the hub of that whole wheel.
Right. Perfect. Well said. Well said. Because there's so much more, right, with the sale than just getting an order. I was thinking about that this morning, and I was out on a walk, and and I think we've all heard the numbers, but it takes sometimes 8 to 12 touches, whatever that touch is, before you finally maybe get an order from a customer. But I think a lot of sales guys think that's it, right? I've done my job now. I got that first order, and in my mind, that's just the start, right? That is the very, very start. Big deal, because that could easily be a one-off if you don't do your job from that point forward. It's, in my mind, it's almost equally important, maybe not almost, equally important what you do after that to prove that that was a good decision by the customer, right? Because let's face it, I think we both agree that customers still buy from the heart and from emotion to some degree. Do they trust you? Do they like you? Is just Clancy just seem like the guy, right? I don't know what it is exactly, but I just trust this guy. But they still have to substantiate that after the fact, right? And you substantiate that in your mind because, geez, Clancy did do what he said he would do. And I think a lot of sales guys, I'd like your opinion on this. I value your opinion, but they do feel like I'm done once I got the first sale. Right, the customer will just call into customer service now, and they'll just keep ordering, and I'll go buy the guy a donut once in a while. And there's a lot more to that than to keep that relationship. Am I right?
I agree 100%. I think we can really, and I don't care even if it's retail sales or what you might perceive as one-time sales, like for a car salesman, or relationship sales like you and I do, doesn't matter. I think that the big fact to be appreciated there, Randy, is that this person is entrusting me with something, with helping them achieve a goal.
Right.
And my work really begins when they make that buying decision, because that doesn't mean that whatever it is that I'm delivering, product or service or whatever, is going to be successful. It's up to me to make sure that it's successful. And I love, love, love that part of my work. Again, using a dairy farmer as an example. So, he's looked at my proposals of how I might save him money or increase his milk production or whatever. And he finally decides that he's going to entrust me with this. And I understand how big of a decision it is. It's no bigger of a decision than somebody who's buying a lawnmower at Home Depot either. Right. And I want to make that clear, but I'm just using my own example. And so, that first week that these new rations go out to the cows, I'm there. I mean, I'm almost living on this dairy, making sure that the feed is getting mixed properly back in the feed center. Are the cows eating it well? Is there any issue with how they're eating it? How are they looking? Just watching for anything that could go wrong in those first few days, and to be there. And I've even had producers say, man, my wife was like, what's this guy doing around so much? Is there a problem or what? And he's like, no, I've just never had anybody babysit the thing this much as it comes out. But I'm like, that's my responsibility. He's made a big decision and he's entrusted me with a lot. And that's profound to me. And so it's my absolute responsibility to make sure that months and years later, he says, that's one of the best decisions I've ever made. That's where the satisfaction lies, not in making a sale and seeing the commission come in, but in the person that says, boy, we've really come a long way working together. And the relationship that gets built around that, that's where the fulfillment is.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And especially in our kind of sales, or relationship sales, it's repeat business, it's ongoing business. One of the great parts is these people become friends. They're customer friends. They're not even customers. They're friends that become customers. It's almost a reversal, right? At the start, they're a customer or a potential customer, but and I'm sure you've done the same things. But yeah, you end up at their kids' 8th grade graduation. You end up at weddings, or unfortunately funerals, and whatever, because these people become more family than they are just a customer, right? And you become the same to them. And that's where that fulfillment, I think, comes into play, because it becomes more than just money.
Yeah, way, way more. And, we were talking about just now the service after the sale. I also like to coin the term service before the sale. And I write in my book, there's a chapter called You're Never Working for Nothing. And it's another true story. An individual who is probably my most loyal customer today. And we have become dear, dear friends. He's a gentleman. He's a pro's pro in the dairy business. And but he had been with his current consultant for over 20 years. And they had a very tight relationship. Like you said, basketball games, graduations, funerals, had been through all that together. But yet he really was attracted to the technologies that I was offering him. And so rather than just sit in the office and continue to pound on him with proposals and asking him if he was ready to hire me, I asked if I could just begin to work for him. And I went on to his dairy for 18 months in all weathers every 2 weeks and did the same service work that I was doing on all my other dairies. I would walk in the cow pens and then he'd call me and he'd say, yeah, the weather's pretty nasty. You don't have to come by. And I said, if this work's important enough to do in good weather, it's important enough to do in bad weather. And I just kept doing that. And it wasn't any skin off my nose. I was driving right by anyway, pulled in. I was learning a lot. I loved being around this operation. I felt like family there. And at one point, about halfway through, he said, Clancy, the problem is I'm just a really loyal guy. But the good news for you eventually is I'm a really loyal guy. Yeah, exactly. And he didn't have to say more. And at one point, he even wanted to hire me and pay me as a consultant for what I was doing. And I said, no. I said, the day you pay me anything is the day you hire me full on. because what would have happened is I would have gotten stuck there, right?
Right.
He kind of wanted to have his, he as I put it, he didn't want to go through a divorce, but he was willing to have a mistress. And
Yeah,
I was going to be that mistress. Yeah.
That was not you.
And I was like, no, that's not why I'm here. I'm happy to help and I'll do this. Finally, near the holidays, one time I was on his dairy and he called me in. He said, come in and see me after your rounds. And he said, I'm ready to make a change. I'm going to talk to my current guy over the holidays and I will hire you. And now he knew at that point, this was the right change for him. He had thought about it. There's never been a second guessing, while he's laying on the pillow at night with his wife. He's never thinking that he got pushed into anything. He changed when he was ready, and we've been doing business for years now. We have become friends. And in fact, we've become such close friends that just a couple of years after we began working together, Randy, he asked if myself and my wife, who were both certified life coaches, would work with his niece who had been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And we had a personal development center in Albuquerque that did life coaching, and he wanted to sponsor his niece. She was 34 years old with a 2-year-old daughter, double mastectomy, the whole thing, full of fear. And Devin and I worked with her, and today she's cancer-free. She started her own business. She's just on top of the world, and it was an extremely profound experience for both of us. That's the first time we'd ever worked together coaching, and a great success story. And, this came out of a guy that I feed his dairy cows. Yeah. And then to have that kind of experience with this one young woman and help her let go of her fear and know that her body could heal itself and be on the way, and see her have the successes that she's having today, that all flowed out of me serving this one prospect. Yeah. And with no expectation. I'd still be working for him with no pay if he hadn't hired me.
Right.
And there's no inline on that. That's just, I can't not do it.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge stuff right there. And it's really, if you want to make a life, I wouldn't even say a career, but a life out of being in the world of sales, because I think it's a life, not just a career. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle, right, that we live. It's pretty shallow and pretty unfulfilling, as you said, if you look at it any other way. But so let's talk. I want to promote your book.
Well, thank you.
I want to talk about your new book for a few. But what was the moment when Clancy Clark said, I'm going to write a book? Down.
Yeah. So when I had this kind of revelation that I wanted to help salespeople in this way, I was talking to my sister and her husband out on the coast of Oregon. They're both business consultants, and they helped me kind of flesh out a rough idea of what I wanted to do. And we were on a trip, Devin and I were, with our RV and visiting with my sister and her husband in Manzanita, Oregon, where my mother had lived when she was alive. So it's a great memory. And we were just having a round table around the coffee table one morning at this little seaside cottage they had rented for us. And all this came out. So by the time I got home, I had a vision that I wanted to structure some sort of a business, some sort of a platform around that. And so I decided I was willing to do whatever it takes. And I began to take what I call massive definitive action. That's massive action, laser focused on what it is that I'm visualizing for myself. So I found a PR and marketing firm, a very prominent one in Denver, Colorado, that works with me to this day on developing my brand and my logo and the artwork for book covers and all of that. And they suggested that I consider a book. He said that really lends a lot of legitimacy to your platform. It's a way to get your message out to a lot of people. So we began, and I found, I love it when it's what I call living on purpose. And when I'm doing what I believe I'm meant to be doing, Randy, the right people just show up, everything just falls into place. And the right guy came along to be my editor. He's my editor to this day. We have a lot of fun. I write and he polishes on my work, and we have discussions about it, and he helps me outline books. And so that was it. I thought, yes, I can be an author. I can be an author and write a book. And so we did. And selling by serving is really, truly my philosophy. And what's brought me, a couple of sort of erroneous conclusions that people draw when they hear my messages. Well, that's fine. One of them is that's fine. If you just want to be a nice guy and sell some stuff, but I want to really ring the bell. I want to really ring the cash register. And I have to tell people, look, I've set records with every company that I've been associated with, and I've become in the top 1% of income earners in the United States by this philosophy. I'm not saying that to brag,
Right.
but what I'm saying is if you really want to be successful, quit worrying about what's in it for you and start serving with all of your heart and massive definitive action. And you'll make more money, more friends, more quotas, more trips to Cabo than you know what to do with, but not by focusing on it. And then the other thing, a lot of people will say, well, it's easy for you to talk about all this serving people and, you know, working for 18 months for no pay because look at you, you know, you're financially independent and you have all this freedom of time and finances. And I'm like, well, maybe I'm the guy you should be listening to then, because I got this by doing what I'm talking about. It's not like I did something else and now I have the ability to talk about it. So it is very authentic and it is very successful. You know, it's a very successful approach to sales.
Oh, there's no doubt. I enjoyed your book immensely, and it was spot on. And so that led to, it's book number 2 now you're working on, correct?
Done.
It's done.
Yeah, last week we put the final, you know, there's still the layout and the publishing and all that, but the manuscript is completely done. It's approximately twice as long as Selling by Serving. Okay. But I think this is a book that's been in me for a long, long time, Randy, and it's called Love Your Work, Live Your Dream. We designed the book cover before I ever wrote it. There's the book cover for Love Your Work.
First, love it.
Live Your Dream. And it's subtitled a guidebook because it really is a pragmatic kind of toolkit for doing this. But I love every morning when I was down here at 5:30 writing, I would be looking at that book cover as if it was done. And then again, I like to visualize it as a completed work. And then I just let the words flow right out of my heart, right onto the computer screen. And it was really an amazing experience for me. So yeah, the title is Love Your Work, Live Your Dream. And there's basically 3 parts to the book. The part 1 is what I call a look at life. So we ask a lot of big questions about what's important in life and why are you here and how does life go so wrong for so many people, where they're stuck on the interstate freeway in traffic and, you know, and perhaps in debt and feeling like they're on a hamster wheel and life is running them rather than them running their life, and how it goes wrong. And there's a chapter about money, what it is, what it isn't. And you know, a lot of those kinds of considerations. Then part 2 is the love your work part, you know, that no matter what it is that you do for a living, it is such a big part of our life. And it's so important that you love what you're doing. And there's some practical considerations of that. There's actually some writing exercises for the readers. Like I said, this is a guidebook. It's not, there's a lot of principle and concept, but there's a lot of practical action items and supporting thoughts for the reader. And so, but that is vital. If you have a disconnect between the life you live on the weekend and on 2 weeks vacation over here and what you do every day, there will always be internal turmoil. If those 2 things don't complement one another, you know, if you have your one life over here and your work life over there, there will always be a disconnect. And so we've got to, you know, I want people to be happy and fulfilled in whatever it is that they do. If they're passionate about driving the forklift in the warehouse and that's their genius area, embrace that. You don't need to move up or do something else as long as it's meeting your financial goals and allows you to live your dream. And then the third part is the live your dream part. So a lot of people stop with a satisfying career and they identify that as who they are. And yet they have dreams on the shelf that are gathering dust of, you know, maybe they want a sailboat. They want to sail around island hop in the Bahamas, or maybe they want to climb Kilimanjaro or work with a nonprofit group or start a nonprofit group or whatever it is. Those dreams are really what we're here for. And in my opinion, as much as I love my work, I work to live. I don't live to work. And so it's about connecting the dots. And there's a lot of metaphor. As you see, the cover of the book is a topographical map. So there's a lot of metaphor in the book about connecting the dots and waypoints and, you know, and your path and the arrival points and your inner cartographer designing your own map for your own life. But that's really the crux of it. So what I want to do through that is help anyone who works for a living, which is most of us, to be fulfilled and have meaning in their work, and then connect the dots to living the life of their dream.
So this book it sounds like it can transition into the sales world, obviously.
Yeah,
But it's
sure.
being written from your experiences as more of a life coach than from a sales professional.
Yeah, it's written from the standpoint of, in selling by serving, I think I have a lot of credibility there because of my record in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have a lot of credibility in love your work, live your dream, because anyone who's around me, tells me and notices I'm a real happy guy. I am a fulfilled person, and I've lived following my intuition since the age of 23. And I write a chapter in the book called My Moment of Revelation. When that happened, when I decided I would march to my own drum, follow my intuition, and not worry what others thought of it. And I've lived my whole life based on that. And so, but I write as one among. I'm just a person that is happy and fulfilled, and I want to help other people be happy and fulfilled too. And so, yeah, I think it's for anybody. Certainly it can apply to salespeople, and I think but it's also a broader audience than selling by serving. It's for anybody who just wants to be happy and fulfilled in their career and in their lives. And I just really want to reach and help as many people as I possibly can. So it's the evolution of that mission of mine.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Yeah, we're real excited to get it out, and I'm looking forward to having it out there. Beautiful. Thank you for asking about it.
Oh, of course. So my brother Wes, my producer director that he has, Wes, you know where I'm coming with this. He's off air there, rooting around doing something, making this show work. There we go. See, he knew what I was looking for. It's almost a little scary that he thinks like I do. Should ask questions, because we all know what frequently asked questions are, right? Wes has got a theory that all of us probably, there's a should ask question that we as salespeople, for example, or as an interviewer in this particular case, should have asked and didn't. So as we sort of wind down, my friend, what's a should ask question here? What did we miss today that you'd like to talk about as we sort of wind our way out of here?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me think for a minute.
We might have done such a great job. There is none, too. But.
Well, I think we covered a lot.
One thing I do want to ask you is how long? Is there an end game in your mind? Because people ask me that a lot, because I've been doing this forever. I promote on everything that I talk about, besides my 2.5 hybrid amazing, which is my little moniker for how I see, everything being hybrid. And why do you want to be normal, old normal, new normal? I don't want to be normal. I'll be amazing, right? But I've had people say, what's your end game? Because I think a few years older than you, I'm guessing. And I have no end game. Why would I have an end game? Why would we have an end game to something that we love so much? Is that the same for you? I mean, is this something you're probably transitioning some things with your writing and your speaking and your life coaching? But what's the next 10 years hold for Clancy? Where do you see yourself doing the same thing, just more of it, or?
Yes. I think this, the selling by serving, Beyond the Method selling platform, and now the Love Your Work, Live Your Dream, and me as author, speaker, and coach, is a real strong future pull for me. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not about me and an ego stroke. Right. I mean, if I need to be the face and the voice of this platform, these platforms, I'm willing to do that. But it's not about me. It's about the people that may be served by what's in my heart. And so, yeah, I want to do as much of that as I'm meant to do. And I will continue to go where this vision leads me. And that's the mystery. That's the wonder of it. Right. I don't know what's going to be required. I don't know who I'm going to connect with along the way. I know the vision I have. I have a grand vision of the books being out there in a big way, helping a lot of people, of being able to speak to large audiences and reach them and engage and do some high level coaching with individuals that want to work with me, either in small groups or one-on-one. I have the vision, but that may or may not be where I'm meant to end up. So I'm willing to just go wherever that leads. And no, there is no end game. One of one of the phrases that I've kind of coined that I write about in the book is time to live till it's time to leave. You know, I always want to be working on something, knowing there will be that one item in my bucket list that doesn't get completed someday. But as long as my body and mind will allow me to help people, and I have this great life where we travel, it all blends together into one beautiful tapestry. It's not like work and play. You know, if we're traveling around in the RV and I pull in somewhere and speak to a group, or keynote a sales meeting somewhere, or whatever, then it's like, this is just all one big nice thing. And why would I want to stop doing that? So no, there's no thought there. I see myself, you know, my body is 62 years old. My spirit is 32 years old. And that's the way I live my life. Got this new platform going on, and lots of new adventure. And, you know, I guess the way I could maybe kind of wrap it up from my side, in the epilogue of my book, I talk about fulfillment. I leave it till the end of the book to really define it and talk about it, even though up till that time, I think it had been mentioned like 60 times or something in the book. And then the other thing I use is the song from the great singer. Oh, hi, Randall. Randall's one of the owners of Philosophy Communication, the PR and marketing firm.
Okay, great.
That's part of my team. And yeah, thank you for being here. I know Randall's got a very full plate, but yeah, he that's a whole other story, how Randall and I connected, but it was meant to be. But I use the lyrics from the song from the great singer-songwriter Tom Petty, "Running Down a Dream." And, you know, and I dissect it, you know, running down a dream that never would come to me. I can't just sit on a hilltop and have a great vision of my life and expect people to walk up to me and say, will you come speak to our, I've got to go make it happen. You know, I've got to take that willingness to do whatever it takes and then do that. So running down a dream that never would come to me. It won't come to you, but you can go find it. And then working on a mystery. It is a mystery. I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years, Randy. I have a vision, but that's the beauty of it. It's a mystery, and going wherever it leads.
But isn't that kind of fun in a way? Because when you have a vision, but you don't know where you'll be, I suppose different people, some people need to know every little step. It sounds like you're a lot like I am. I'm pretty comfortable with a statement I've made before, that sometimes you just got to jump off the 84th floor to figure out how to fly on the way down. You know, sometimes you just go and accept, and this offer comes in or this opportunity's there. You just go, yeah. You have any idea how to do it yet? No, but we'll figure it out, right?
Going wherever it leads. And that what leads is my intuition. And I think so many people discount that because it's their own. Right. But that's a wise voice to listen to. That little gut, what we call it gut, or your instinct, or your, and I love the phrase intuition. And from that comes inspiration, but that's what's going to lead me. My intuition is that little voice saying, you know, this is where you're meant to go. And then I have a subhead in one of the chapters of my book called Nudges and Pulls. And they're like these little gnomes along the trail that help you along. And the nudges are pushing you away from something you're meant to be moving away from. Like, no, don't stay here. Move away. Go on. You can do this. And then the pulls are the little gnomes that are saying, there you go. You're going the right direction. Keep going. And they're only there for a brief period of time. And then the next one's there. And then, you know, they're just these little bits of intuition that sort of steer you along. But yeah, that is absolutely the mystery of the whole thing, is to embrace the unknown and say, I know what my effort is going to be. I know where my motive is. I know what I'm going to attempt, and then let the outcome define itself as time goes on. And that way I don't set myself up for disappointment. I'm like, okay, we're worked out that way. I can move this way now. And it's just, you know, you're not attached to any particular outcome. And I think that's a very great arrival point for people to
I like that. No, that's awesome. Well, Clancy, I appreciate you being on.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate your friendship. I enjoyed chatting with you. We'll do it again in a week or so. I've got a trade show next week. I think I was mentioning pre-show, which is like beyond exciting for me. But just to be back with people. I was out for 8 days last week.
Yeah.
Weekend and spent a lot of time with some family, but also just it's amazing when you haven't been able to do as much of that for a while.
That's right.
To show up with a box of donuts or, you know, pizza and pop at lunch and just see the people that you've grown to care about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's family. And I was gone 8 days and I was a family every second, even when I wasn't with my own kids or grandkids or great grandson that I finally met this last weekend.
Oh, nice.
But that does make me sound pretty old, doesn't it? But anyway, but even every day of the week calling on customers, because I always refer to them as customer friends, right? And because they are, almost all of them are. And it's so when you travel and you do those things, it's right. You're all seeing friends. It's not a bad gig, right? It's a good time.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate you, Randy, and you coming into my life, and Wes also, you know, behind the scenes here helping and having me. It means the world to me to be here with you today. There's no place that means more to me. This is what matters, is being right here with you right now. And I think that's also what it's about. You know, it reminded me when you were talking, jumping off the 84th floor and figuring out how to fly on your way down. And we were talking about, you know, working on a mystery, going wherever it leads. And the very opening display quote in Love Your Work, Live Your Dream is something that I wrote. And I'll leave you with this today. And it says, some people doubt and set their dreams aside, while others dream and set their doubts aside.
I like that.
And I think that's what it's all about.
That's awesome.
Setting the doubts aside, because if you don't, you know, then there can be those regrets at the end of our days. Boy, I never did try that. I never did go there and live there like I wanted to do. And those dreams are still on the shelf, dusty and old, and they can be brought down, dusted off, and worked on at any time. And that's what I'm trying to help people to do. So
awesome. Clancy, my friend, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And, we'll chat in a week or so.
Looking forward to it.
Right,
thank you again.
Thank you. Folks, I hope you love Clancy as much as I do. Great chat. And maybe we'll bring you back sometime in the future after your next book. How's that?
I'd love to.
That's what we're going to do after your next book. Oh yeah. Liz is my marketing girl that works with me full time.
Okay.
And Wes just said Wes works with her. There's a lot of awesome sound bites from this one. So
okay,
we'll be plugging little sound bites for the next 6 months on this one, Clancy.
Good.
Just in time to do you have a launch date? I already said goodbye and now I'm back, but do you have a launch date for your book? Or release date?
We're going to spend a little more time than we did on Selling by Serving with some marketing efforts and that sort of thing. So I'm tentatively thinking right now in the fall.
Okay.
September, October, somewhere in there. But it'll be right now, we're reworking the website. So it's no longer Clancy Clark Sales Philosopher. When the homepage, it's going to be Clancy Clark Author, Speaker, Coach. Then there will be a tab up there, Beyond the Method Selling, where you can go there and read about, you know, that platform and Selling by Serving. And there will be a new tab there, Love Your Work, Live Your Dream. And for now, it's just going to talk about the book and say coming soon. But as soon as it's available for pre-order, people could check there on the website and there will be a pre-order button.
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. So we'll have those updates on the website.
Good. So 2 things. I'll leave you with this. 1, we're going to have you back when the book launches or releases, or whatever the right word is. And I'm going to do my best to be the very first book that's bought.
Oh, okay.
I may not make it, but I'm going to try.
I'll hold you. Maybe I might even slip you the secret a little early.
Ooh, that would be awesome. That would get you on my show even earlier.
I could be bought for a steak dinner, my friend.
Hey, I'm more than willing to buy. All right, my friend. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you very much.
Clancy.
Thanks.
You betcha. Well, that was as good as it gets. And Clancy Clark, as I mentioned before at the start, he and I've become really, really good friends real quickly. And I love chatting with Clancy. He's a great, great guy. Hopefully enjoyed that. So we are, as you know, are now on Fridays instead of Tuesdays. And there will be a slight hiatus on the 4th. We will not be doing a live show unless I may do a few lives from the trade show I'm at. But this one I'm going to actually be flying during the show time. So the next actual live, unless Wes and I come up with a special event, which we may, but will be June 11th, Friday, June 11th. And while Clancy was an outstanding guest, and we've had every guest on here has been outstanding, I appreciate everybody. I can tell you up front that June 11th is going to be my favorite guest. And that is because his name is Corey Chafee, my son. There he is. We do look alike. He's a little younger than I. He's with Prime Remodelers. But we'll go with Corey Prime. That works. But Corey is my son. He is an installed sales, in-home metal roofing guru, 20 some years of experience. And so we're going to do a lot of chatting about install sales and in-home selling, a little different twist on what I typically talk about, because I'm more of a B2B kind of guy. But sales, we can learn. And, I think we'll learn a lot from this conversation. So that'll be 3:00 Eastern on June 11th. So until then, make it an absolutely spectacular rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And remember, we only go around this little world once, so live it, love it, own it. And just go make this your best day ever. Until tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. Thanks. Have a great weekend.